Good lunch break, I sure did. We are coming back with what I believe to be round 4 of the Salt Lake City Regional Championships, joined by my good friend Len Duel.
Yeah,
Yes,
it should
right?
be should be a great match.
We were going to have James Eakes versus Emilio Estrada. James has gotten second in Anaheim. He's played in Worlds before. Emilio, his big accomplishment today, knocking out, or not knocking out, but greatly demoralizing Aaron Cybertron saying round 1 with a clean victory.
Just bopped him.
Yeah, and there's actually a bit of a history between these two players as well. While James was on the mid-season showdown hunt earlier in the season, Emilio, or maybe last season, Emilio actually knocked him out of the Idaho mid-season showdown.
Idaho
So
mid-season showdown. Yeah, James had a lot of success early in the season. He just barely missed the cut for that top 8 travel award to Melbourne for the International Championships. I think he was 10th at that point. Had a lot less success so far in the 2018 format, but so far it's going well today, 3-0. So he's
one of the very few 3-0s. I think there's only like 4 left in this tournament, which means that as early as round 5, we are depleting the numbers there. Something that just happens with a smaller tournament pool, but it's kind of odd to see when you're very used to the XO being that big number for so long in the tournament. It's very possible at the end of the day there aren't any XOs.
yeah. James looking to get a lot more CP today.
He hasn't actually gotten CP in quite a while, so he's a lot riding on this tournament morally. We see the team preview on the screen here from Emilio, who's master pleb here. We're going to see Metagross, Amoonguss, Landorus, Therian, Tapu Lele, Heatran, and Zapdos. While from James, we see Seismitoad, Mawile, Gothitelle, Mimikyu, Tapu Koko, and Politoed.
Yeah, Seismitoad's the one that obviously stands out immediately here. It's a Pokemon we saw in Portland. Didn't ever expect to see it again after like 2011, but now it's 2 regionals in a row we're seeing it. In Portland, it was all about spamming Muddy Water, getting lots of Life Orb boosted Muddy Waters out. We'll have to see how James is using it. He does have that Trick Room mode also. Obviously, Gothitelle and Mimikyu as Trick Room setters, and then Mawile is that great Mega Trick Room abuser.
I mean, one of the nice little things about Seismitoad compared to something else like Ludicolo is the access to Sludge Bomb, which is a very nice tool against the Tapu.
Yeah, like that Tapu Lele over on Emilio's side. Emilio's team a little more standard. We have that Metagross Tapu Lele combination we've seen so much of. Still the Amoonguss there to support those Pokemon. No Tyranitar, though. Instead, we have Heatran, kind of a Pokemon that's dropped off a lot in usage this season compared to kind of how I expected it to be, where it's been in these other wide open formats like 2015.
I'm personally a pretty big fan of the Metagross Tapu Lele Amoonguss combination. Currently, I think it's just super potent, incredibly scary combination. And it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of deals with like a heavier rain offense.
I think Heatran actually has a really interesting dynamic here, too, because it is so good against that Trick Room mode. Mawile, Gothitelle, and Mimikyu do not want to be up against Heatran, but obviously Heatran hates that rain mode of Seismitoad and Politoed. So whether to bring Heatran is going to be kind of a gamble on what you think James is going to bring.
I have to imagine that the rain is obviously go for it, so this is easier to shut down. See the Tapu Lele Amoonguss from Emilio while James answers Seismitoad.
Yeah, so no rain off the bat. Seismitoad there without its Swift Swim for this turn. Going to be operating at its normal speed. Tapu Koko should be the fastest thing on the field, but likely that Tapu Lele then outspeeds that Seismitoad. I mean, can get off big Psychics before taking that Sludge Bomb that you mentioned. Of course, even the Sludge Bomb might be hard to get off because the option for that Rage Powder to come out from Amoonguss. Tapu Lele does get the Psychic Train up after that Tapu Koko, so Tapu Koko also not going to have too much offensive presence and is worried about getting its electric attacks Rage Powdered over to Amoonguss also. So this seems like a pretty good opening position for Emilio.
Yeah, I think the decision was very good, especially considering the Tapu Lele sort of Pokemon that feeds on Tapu Koko thanks to the way the terrain's work. The slower terrain will always come out or be the one that ends up standing. And so if you remove the Sleep Immunity and the Psychic Attack, you seem to protect the Seismitoad. You don't want to risk that just coming out dead. Rage Powder set this board up to take advantage of the terrain potential. Maybe scared the Tapu Koko has for the Or Gothitelle so he doesn't think too much about the Tapu Lele attack. But Tapu Lele is very big rain. You're going to have to deal with that really long.
Yeah, it seems like bringing out Politoed like happens here is a great move. You both get Tapu Koko into the back to reset the train and immediately give you the rain to boost the speed of that Seismitoad. A great field position kind of flip here.
Tapu Koko much more threatening immediately than Seismitoad was. And you don't really want to enter that terrain war where oh, he does go into the protected Seismitoad, burning that Z move. Very good defensive play there from James, though still really doing a pretty sizable amount of damage through a protect.
Yeah, that's still a ton of damage. Seismitoad not going to be able to take another Psychic, but now does have its speed. Going to be able to outspeed that Tapu Lele with its Swift Swim. Of course, Amoonguss still threatening Rage Powder.
Yeah.
Amoonguss has been really useful being on the field, keeping that Tapu Lele safe, even only a couple turns in. We've seen a lot of different little effects it's had on the way that James is able to play his field position. I still don't really see a way for him to prevent Psychic next turn, which is not good news.
Yeah, even burning the Z move ends up not mattering that much because punishing just the press of Psychic is pretty rough. Tapu Koko, even if you reset the terrain, isn't the most bulky thing on the planet. Not going to enjoy taking those. The Helping Hand, probably the Muddy Water trying to circumvent that Rage Powder. To me, Rage Powder, this indicates to me that Emilio does not have Giga Drain on his Amoonguss because he would have just went for it, not even risking burning that Z move earlier. The Muddy Water going to come out and hopefully do maybe a 2-hit KO range to the Tapu Lele. Yep, very good damage, roughly 65-70%. But revealing the Life Orb and the Seismitoad, pretty similar to its role that we saw earlier in Portland just a month ago, 2 months ago. Seismitoad not able to take that Psychic, though. Politoed, having Helping Handed previously, thanks to the priority, is not going to be attacking this turn.
Yeah, so kind of a fair damage trade there. That Muddy Water does so much damage to Tapu Lele, about 2/3, and even a decent chunk against that Amoonguss, but Seismitoad goes down for its effort.
Yeah.
That Swift Swim Sweeper is gone. The speed control is not going to be there for James anymore unless he can pivot to that Trick Room mode, but it's hard to do when you already have shown Tapu Koko and 2 of your Rain mode.
James revealing his last Pokemon on the team for this game, Mawile. Something not too worried about Tapu Lele, but now that Tapu Lele's sort of been injured a little bit, we do kind of see the attention redirect to Amoonguss a little bit. Something with Regenerator and just so much bulk. It looks like James is going to have a long time in the long term dealing with the Amoonguss because you have the combination of Politoed and Koko, something that Amoonguss, or 2 Pokemon really, that Amoonguss loves to handle.
Yeah, I mean, it just, unless Politoed has that Ice Beam to pick up a decent chunk of damage that way, neither of them really hurt Amoonguss that much.
Lele getting out of there in favor of Zapdos. He probably just wants to get a bit better positioning, trying to react toward a potential terrain war. Mawile going right into its Mega Form, really no reason not to. Its main power really is in that Mega Form. Mawile without it is not a damage dealer in it by any means. Politoed just going right for the skull, trying to either hit a switch, maybe get a burn out there, and the extra damage is always going to be nice. Amoonguss going for the Spore and actually outspeeding the Mawile. Mawile designed for that Trickery mode.
That's huge. That Tapu Koko not coming onto the field to bring out that electric terrain and prevent Mawile from falling asleep. And then Amoonguss managing to outspeed Mawile shows a little bit about how both of those Pokemon are trained.
Yeah.
Mawile naturally faster than Amoonguss, but in this case, Amoonguss manages to be faster than Mawile, and that's a big flip. Not allowing Mawile that attack likely would have been an Iron Head onto that Amoonguss to prevent that Spore. So instead of Amoonguss being KO'd, it's Mawile falling asleep. Zapdos now up against sleeping Mawile and the Politoed that it would love to Thunderbolt. You can also have that option with that Tailwind so that when Tapu Koko does come back on the field, you have the speed advantage against it.
Metagross getting that Mushroom out of there. You're going to see the Regenerator as it returns to the field whenever that so happens. Politoed going for the Protect. You don't want to take that Thunderbolt for free, and you're going to try to create a situation in which Mawile can wake up, even if it was only 1 turn of sleep so far. Metagross having coming so safely, it's able to take advantage of that Psychic terrain as Mawile stays napping a little bit. Didn't get enough hours of sleep last night for this tournament.
Yeah, but that Tailwind goes up from Zapdos, and so when Tapu Koko hits the field again, it's going to be slower than Zapdos, slower than Metagross.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot less useful. It's really the speed that was going to be helpful to James here. Now, he's lost his Swift Swim Pokemon. He's lost the speed advantage of his Tapu Koko. He's going to be moving last, the rest of this game. The other thing, even if Amoonguss hits the field, we've seen maybe faster than some Amoongusses. It might be faster than like this Politoed under that Tailwind.
Very possible. I mean, considering that Emilio has no Trick Room mode, he didn't really have to invest in a Amoonguss that was naturally just slow. It could go for, while not fast, something normally faster. The Protect on Politoed, that's a double Protect, actually. Dodging that Thunderbolt for a second time, Stomping Tantrum going raw into the Mawile, doing huge damage, notorious among the community. Thunderbolt double tapping that Mawile, very safe play. Figuring that the Politoed had to make a defensive pivot there to Koko on the last turn, just going for the double tap.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really smart play. You aren't that worried about what Politoed does there, and you know Stomping Tantrum's not going to be a KO. There's a 50-50 chance that Mawile just wakes up and deals a bunch of damage to your side, so why not just double target it? And then James just walks right into it by double protecting with Politoed, wasting that turn, and allowing his Mawile to go down.
And, you know, with the Tailwind, even Tapu Koko, known for being very fast, is going to be outsped by both Zapdos and Mega Metagross. It's looking like a situation where James doesn't really have a comeback mechanism here, especially considering that Emilio has all 4 Pokemon. The Protect from Tapu Koko, opening up the possibility for Zapdos to just Thunderbolt right in. Stomping Tantrum goes into the Protect, but thanks to its unique ability, it's going to have extra power on the next turn. Politoed taking that Thunderbolt pretty well. Because Zapdos is a flying type, it will not be boosted by that electric terrain. As Scald goes into the Metagross, hoping for a burn here, but missing it again.
Yeah, and missing, and that kind of seals it here. Tapu Koko's going to have to go for a double protect this turn. If it misses it, the Stomping Tantrum lands, the Thunderbolt lands, and this game 1 is over. Even if it hits it, you still have the Amoonguss to deal with in the back, and so James does just concede here and move on to game 2.
I mean, adjustments. James needs to make them.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to find a way to have some speed control. He gave up the Seismitoad relatively easily, and then gave up that Tailwind. You know, maybe he does need to have the Trick Room mode as an option, especially seeing that Amoonguss is faster than Mawile. You know, one issue with the Trick Room mode, if you think Amoonguss is slower than Mawile, is that after you set up Trick Room, it's then outspeeding and sporing your Mawile. Now that you know Amoonguss is actually faster than Mawile, there's even more incentive to set up Trick Room and have your Mawile able to outspeed the Amoonguss, keep itself from falling asleep. Also, maybe needs to be careful with keep getting that electric train on the field and not getting things asleep. And then Amoonguss is going to be annoying enough just with the ability to Rage Powder away all these moves. If you're also letting it put stuff to sleep, it's going to be too much to deal with.
Yeah, I think Amoonguss is really the problem there. Early on in the first game, it was easy to point at Tapu Lele as a big issue, but really one of the reasons it was able to thrive so well is because James had to commit to Helping Hand Muddy Water to do significant damage. Another issue with Amoonguss is the only way for your Trick Room mode to actually be enabled is through Tapu Koko, something that doesn't itself benefit from being in Trick Room. It's very natural, I think, for a lot of players in this position to try and shift to the alternate mode. Having seen that, rain mode doesn't work, I'm going to go for the other one. But the Amoonguss is just such a natural threat against this team that really both modes are significantly hampered here.
It's also going to be dangerous if you pivot to that Trick Room mode and walk right into one of Heatran or Landorus or both.
Yeah,
that's really bad. You know, you don't want that combination of Mimikyu and Mawile against Heatran and Landorus. So a risk in pivoting for sure.
I have to imagine that we're going to see the rain mode once again, maybe just choosing a bit different options, but dealing with that Amoonguss is going to be the key to success here, and I don't quite know where I left my keys. Tapu Lele Amoonguss returning to the field, no reason to switch it up, while Gothitelle Politoed from James.
Yeah, so we do see a pivot here. Gothitelle, a new Pokemon that we didn't see in the last game. Maybe going to be looking for Trick Room here. Could possibly switch that Politoed out for Tapu Koko to get up the electric train and keep that Gothitelle from falling asleep. Gothitelle, obviously, with its Psychic type, resists Psychic, doesn't have to worry about getting one-hit KO'd by Shattered Psyche. So can be a relatively safe Trick Room there. You do end up with Gothitelle and Tapu Koko as your 2 Pokemon on the field under Trick Room.
Yeah.
Not the best starting point. But
yeah, that's really what the big issue is with that sort of reliance against Amoonguss.
Be interesting because the issue is that if Tapu Koko had been led, Tapu Lele would have been slower than it and put up the Psychic Train immediately, so you do have to bring it out on the second turn.
Interesting chain of events here as we see Politoed stay on the field, Tapu Lele going for the taunt, not even worried about the Tapu Koko potential switch-in. And he actually going for the taunt himself, trying to prevent Amoonguss from sporing in the first place, kind of explaining why Tapu Koko didn't appear on the field as Politoed goes right for that Perish Song.
Yeah, that's a fascinating turn. We see Emilio looking for the Tapu Koko switch, trying to prevent Trick Room in a different way. James looking for the Spore and trying to prevent that Spore since he's not going to bring in that electric train.
Right.
And then the Perish Song hit the field. Now we're looking at a Perish Trap mode from James. He's going to be looking to deny damage from Tapu Lele and Amoonguss, maybe pivot Politoed to something that can take a Shattered Psyche, and so you don't give up too many KOs before these 3 turns expire. Because obviously Gothitelle is not immediately threatened here, and neither Tapu Lele or Amoonguss can switch out to something that actually does threaten this Gothitelle, so it's going to be hard to actually break the Shadow Tag. So likely these 2 Pokemon do go down to Perish Song. It's just how many things can they take with them. And I think getting rid of Amoonguss with Parasong is going to be really valuable for James.
Polytoad going for the protect. You don't want to take that extra damage as you want these turns to last. Emilio going right for the Shattered Psyche, and I imagine into that Polytoad slot. A little interesting dynamic here is that because Gothitelle was taunted, it doesn't have that option of protecting out the Parasong turn. So you're probably going to see a Spore into that slot. Just try and prevent the options in which James can position himself to make full use of that Parasong.
I was wondering if this wouldn't happen. The Shattered Psyche going into Gothitelle decided he needs to break that Shadow Tag, and so the best way to get damage off is with that Shattered Psyche, but it has less than 50% health. But the struggle!
The struggle is real. It's hitting that, doing so much damage to itself as opposed to the Tapu Lele. Sludge Bomb follow-up. Gothitelle effectively taking 3 attacks this turn, getting the poison. The berry does activate, but because Gothitelle doesn't have access to protect, let alone any move, it's going to be very hard keeping this Parasong alive.
Yeah, because Gothitelle can't protect itself next turn. It's going to be forced to struggle again, meaning you looking at that health bar, well, 25% of it immediately goes to the struggle. Another 12% goes to that poison. That's only like then 12% left. It's easy enough for Amoonguss to do that damage to actually make sure Gothitelle's KO'd on the next turn, which means that on the last turn of Parasong, you're free to double switch these 2 Pokemon out. This Parasong is broken already. And it's because of that taunt. Gothitelle not having Psychic. If Gothitelle had Psychic and not done that extra 25% this turn, another extra 25% next turn, and instead of just been like meaninglessly chipping Amoonguss, would have been a much stronger position for James. But that taunt coming in, so important, going to force those struggles and keep these Pokemon healthy.
I mean, this is part of the reason why dedicated Parasong teams usually have something like a eject button to be able to switch out and then just go immediately back to the Shadow Tag user, because this is a situation where you don't really want Gothitelle on the field anymore, and you see that anyway. He doesn't care about breaking the Trick Room, needs to go for his more offensive modes as Mawile comes onto the field for the first time in this game, something that doesn't mind the combination of Psychic and Poison attack. Polytoad probably going to try and get some damage off here for free, realizing that it's going to have to switch out the next turn anyway. Moonblast hitting that Mawile for pretty good damage, especially considering it hasn't Mega'd. Its defenses are also lower as a result. Polytoad getting that Scald off, but not going to be able to do enough to Tapu Lele, not even taking it to the 50% mark, though it does get the burn. Not something that hinders special attackers. The Spore follow-up into the Polytoad slot, expecting the other side to switch because of the Shadow Tag maintenance. But either way, any sleep here is excellent.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're expecting Polytoad to switch or not, you know that the Moonblast is enough to make sure you KO Gothitelle, so Amoonguss isn't doing anything else useful. Might as well Spore the Polytoad slot. It protected last turn. It either switches and something else falls asleep, or the Polytoad itself falls asleep like we see here. I would expect a double switch has to be made by Emilio, both these Pokemon, otherwise feigning to Parasong. Also, likely the Polytoad needs to switch, or it faints, unless James just decides to sleep and Polytoad isn't worth it, but I think it has to be just to get the rain back.
I think this is the most appropriate time I've ever seen in a battle to say that this will be a revolving door of Pokemon. Okay, first the Lele for the Metagross, then the Toad for the Goth. Are we going to see Amoonguss follow suit? We do. So that's 3 switches right there. Pretty excellent little turn, maybe something for the short-term gain here, because Mawile is now getting an absolutely free chance to attack whatever it wants, but it actually goes for the Protect instead of using that turn.
That's just an inexplicable play to me. You know that both these Pokemon have to switch, or if they don't switch, you're getting 2 KOs, so you might as well try to get some damage off. Protecting yourself instead really doesn't gain you anything, and lost a free turn for damage. James has got to be kicking himself over that one. You touched on it earlier, but you see what happens when you don't have that dedicated Parasong team and you still try to go for that mode. You're just missing the tools to lock it in. And Parasong, you can go 2/3 of the way and you get nothing for it.
Yeah,
you don't actually finish it off.
commit.
It's not like normal damage. And so when you don't have those tools to actually finalize it, all you've done is give up a Spore to Polytoad, all this damage to Mawile and Gothitelle, and gained nothing.
It's going to look rough here as Metagross enters its powered-up state, something that not really many of the Pokemon on James' side of the field can deal with, let alone its partners. Mawile following suit, entering its own Steel-type Mega Form, hoping to be able to combat a giant spider, I suppose. But the usual tool that Mawile has to punish it is Sucker Punch, and Psychic Terrain's preventing that. Gothitelle going just for the double Protect, actually. Probably trying to scout here.
The previous Protect failed because of the 3 switches, so not actually a double
Protect.
Protect.
I meant double Protect, as in both of them protected.
I think the Psychic Terrain now will expire, and you will be free to Sucker Punch on the next turn. Try to get some damage off. The Helping Hand Sucker Punch, if that's an option, maybe is enough to KO Metagross?
I don't know. Metagross just has so much physical bulk.
Otherwise, we did see that Storming Tantrum right into the protect, and so it's going to be at double power. So anything switching into that Mawile slot, even the Politoed, is going to take so much damage.
All right, well, it seems he's committing to that powered-up Sucker Punch. Will it be enough damage on the Metagross slot? He's not even willing to risk it, going right for the Zapdos. Maybe see a read here, but you do see the Sucker Punch go into that protected Metagross. So Zapdos punishing that play with a Thunderbolt onto the Gothitelle slot, removing the lock of Pokemon, freeing up the switching positioning, and it's extra devastating considering that Lele and Mungus in the back had so much health because their pressure was through Parasong, not traditional damage.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Where you'd think maybe the Mega is there, it's all the damage output, you can just Thunderbolt it, but Gothitelle itself offers so much threat. It's the threat of Trick Room and losing speed control. It's the threat of these Helping Hand, and really importantly, it's that Shadow Tag. You know, now Zapdos is free to switch to Tapu Lele, switch back to the Psychic Terrain, and protect Metagross from Sucker Punch that way. Once you have that flexibility to switch back, it's so much of a better position for Emilio. So he does opt to get that Thunderbolt, KO the Gothitelle, and not have to worry about all those different threats for the rest of this game.
I think it's interesting that James went for the Politoed over something like the potential Tapu Koko, to me kind of signifying that there's a Seismitoad in the back, something that needed the rain support before getting going.
Especially because Politoed hasn't slept yet. It can't wake up this turn.
Lele returning to the field, denying that Sucker Punch option as Metagross goes for the very free Stomping Tantrum. We saw in the previous game that it had done nearly 70% without the boost, so even if there had been no failed, Mawile would have gone down to that. Lele taking burn damage, but again, not going to be enough to turn the tides here. I think Seismitoad is going to be the last hope, so to speak.
Yeah, I think if it was Tapu Koko, we would have seen it by now, so Seismitoad comes out, and it's going to need to be those Muddy Waters doing all the work.
I think he has to get a critical hit on the Amoonguss as it switches in, or there's not really any way for it to be able to break that Pokemon.
Maybe, yeah, I just don't see how. I mean, Metagross itself, if it can land a Zen Headbutt on Seismitoad, just KO it. You need Politoed to wake up here. It's only slept one turn, though, so if you only have
I do imagine that the Zen Headbutt from Metagross will pick up the KO on Seismitoad.
Yeah, I mean, Seismitoad not an especially bulky Pokemon, and we have that Psychic Terrain, Tough Claws, boosted Zen Headbutt coming out. It's massive damage.
Oh, I thought Amoonguss had much less health than that. Politoed is waking up right away, going for the Helping Hand once again, but it's not going to be enough, at least for the Amoonguss slot. Metagross just going for the Protect, doesn't even want to risk the potential for Politoed to wake up, as Amoonguss will take a Muddy Water, but because of that Grass typing and just insane bulk and the ability to dodge those hits, not going to be any momentum there.
Yeah, we've seen, I think, all four moves from this Politoed. I mean, there's no Ice Beam. We've seen the Helping Hand, we've seen the Parasong, we've seen the Scald, we've seen the Protect.
Right.
And so with no Ice Beam option, neither of these Pokemon have any offensive output to Amoonguss really to speak of.
Yeah.
Amoonguss is going to be free to just throw down Spore, Sludge Bomb. It could probably finish this game by itself if you didn't also have a Tapu Lele and a Zapdos and a Metagross. I mean, it's just too much for James to overcome at this point.
I mean, that in itself was, I think, part of a matchup problem. You can argue about how good a team is if it was so weak to Amoonguss, but instead of focusing on that, just acknowledging that Amoonguss in this matchup, incredibly difficult to deal with. The Helping Hand Muddy Water will come back out, but there is no punish to the Spore plays here. So even if Zapdos were by some chance knocked out, Amoonguss is totally fine with this. And Zapdos actually does get knocked out by that Muddy Water. Now the accuracy drop is a little interesting here because you could get a whole bunch of misses.
Yeah, I mean, these are the first steps of what has to happen, right?
Now, we're not seeing such misses, and Seismitoad will be the one falling asleep, which is pretty devastating considering that Politoed in no way has that comeback factor that Seismitoad has.
Well, and the other thing is that now Amoonguss is free to Rage Powder, whatever that Politoed does.
Yeah.
When Seismitoad was attacking, those Muddy Waters could still hit the partner slot. Now Metagross can come in, or Tapu Lele, and just fire off big psychic attacks, and meanwhile, all Politoad can do is, like, scald the Amoonguss.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there is really no punish to the Amoonguss positioning play unless you get some miraculous wake up.
It's really interesting comparing this Politoed Seismitoad rain mode versus the more common like Ludicolo Pelipper rain mode. You think about the offensive options that has against Amoonguss. It has Ice Beam and it has the Hurricane against Amoonguss. So much easier to do big damage and get rid of this grass type problem, this wall in front of your rain offense.
Well, Seismitoad taking the Psychic is sort of impressive for me, but considering that it has Life Orb, you don't have the chance to really... You would have to get the crit on Amoonguss right here, knock out both, and have Politoed one-on-one the Metagross.
But even then, Tapu Lele can fish to protect itself and let only Amoonguss take this muddy water, so that then Seismitoad is gone, and then you just kind of double target the Politoad. This has gone on longer and become closer than kind of I expected a couple turns ago, but there's just still so many problems in the way for James.
I mean, another interesting little part about more traditional rain setups in Pelipper and Ludicolo is that Ludicolo's grass typing makes it so that the Rage Powder wouldn't have even worked, so you would be free to do something like Hydro Vortex to the Metagross right out of the gate. It's sort of the trade-off you get in such a different approach to rain.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the benefit you're getting is that spread attack. Ludicolo's never hitting 2 Pokemon at once, and it gets kind of more frail offensive teams. If you're getting those giant Helping Hand boosted Rain, boosted Life, or boosted Muddy Waters onto both targets, you're putting up lots of damage. We saw how much it did to Tapu Lele. But then when you do run up against kind of a more defensive Pokemon like Amoonguss that just isn't enough damage to overcome them immediately, you don't have as many other tools at your disposal as like the Pelipper and Ludicolo do. You don't have the Fake Out. You don't have the Tailwind.
James just forfeiting, recognizing that Politoed just doesn't have the comeback factor to be able to pull off the 3-on-1. Emilio taking that 2-0, pushing him as one of the 2 4-0s left in the tournament.
Yeah, a really impressive game. I mean, I think he seized on what his matchup advantage was in that Amoonguss and took full advantage of it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what you should do. When you have a tool that good against a matchup, you bring it and you utilize it to the best of your ability.
And I think James's attempt in Game 2 was good. I mean, it came close. If that Perish Song had actually trapped and KO'd Amoonguss, then all those Muddy Waters look so much nicer.
Oh, absolutely.
But he just came barely short because that Shattered Psyche did go into Gothitelle. I think that was a very crucial play to this game. This whole game is different if that Shattered Psyche goes into Politoed, and it's kind of a hard decision to make. To decide I'm going to use my Z move and know it's going to do like less than 50% health to a Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, I agree that Shattered Psyche was huge there, but the taunt was really, I think, what caught him off guard. He was expecting just a completely easy Gothitelle setup scenario. Taunt the Amoonguss, it's not going to do anything to me. Lele Psychic, I'm fine with that. But then seeing that the taunt completely shut down Gothitelle on the first turn just created a situation where James was on the back end for at least the first 4 turns of the game.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because I don't even think Emilio was necessarily playing against what happened. I think
I think
the Trick Room plus Tapu Koko setup that we just talked about after seeing that lead matchup. And it just happened to be that play of taunting to prevent whatever Gothitelle was going to do also kind of broke that Perish Song setup for James. And, the reason that taunt was effective no matter what is because Gothitelle is just so vulnerable to being taunted. Maybe it has Psychic and can chip out little bits of damage, but it's kind of irrelevant. So a lot of times players will just drop it because support moves are so much more valuable to it.
Right.
But then once it gets taunted, what are you left doing?
Well, it's also not that taunt is the most prevalent move either. A lot of times in the past you would see mental, and we even saw it today, mental herb on your Trick Room Psychic type to prevent just that situation. James, so confident that he wouldn't have even seen such a tech, just went for like, I'm going to put the Wiki Berry on, I'm going to survive forever, and I'm going to be able to support my team in this fantastic way.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we haven't touched on enough here is that even having the taunt on Tapu Lele in the first place is kind of unexpected.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was the most rare or outlandish technique, but definitely not what I would say was standard.
Right, and so really showing how valuable it can be, basically winning that game too.
Absolutely.
In one click. Well, should we take a very quick break and be right back with round 5?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds like a good idea.
All right, see you for round 5.